Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Ron. Uh, Monday evening, and here we are again. And let's see, I'm trying to remember. We fielded questions uh, yesterday on from the Book of Jonah and got more insight out of it, and had a couple of other issues that we went over, other questions that we may have had. I can't remember right now, and I forgot to go back and listen to this. Well, I didn't have time today like I usually do. And then we briefly looked at Genesis 12, looking at something we had talked about last week. And I want to apologize for that. I probably shouldn't have even gone there. But I had seen something I was kind of excited about and hope uh, maybe get there today. If not, we'll talk about it when we talk about it. But we will do what we normally do and see if we have any questions to get us going today. Okay? Questions or comments, y'all?
I'm on.
Thank you, sir. Pastor, I was hoping you could give us a kind of a brief recap from yesterday, just on Jonah, if you would, please.
I'm not on.
Okay.
Ron, Pastor Ron, before you get started, may I say something, please, to the family? And to you, Ron. Ron, I want you to know I appreciate the way you're facilitating. It's like you're beginning to know how we're functioning, and it's like when we need space to elaborate on something, or I don't know, I just want you to know that we appreciate you so much. Not saying that the other teachers are not doing anything like that, but I'm just saying I would like to thank you, give you kudos for how you are facilitating, and you're guiding us, and it's the way you're moving now, and I really appreciate you. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. I appreciate that. And I will say, since you brought everybody else up, that's my comfort. My comfort is knowing that you guys have my back. That scared me to death when I first started doing this. But I mean, there's Pastor there, and all of you guys, all the teachers, all the facilitators, and everybody else with their questions and comments. That's the for that. And yeah, this would be probably a little bit different, be a little bit more tense on my part anyway. So on
yeah,
behalf
because you've been teaching. It's like you've been facilitating almost 2 years. And I remember when you first started, you were kind of hesitant or whatever, but you were nervous, but you went through with it anyway. And now look at you. And I just feel that we all appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And at any time, you guys know it. Any time if anybody else has a lesson, or the pastor, not pastor, but any of the other teachers or anybody there to do this, then hey, I don't have a problem with that. So, but yeah, I think we do flow. I love the way we flow. I look forward to it. So, but I think we all feel the energy of being. We all energy. We said it for so long, and I think it took us over, and we didn't even recognize it, and now we're right in the middle of it. We're one voice. Sometimes it's feminine, sometimes it's masculine, but we're one voice. And that's the beauty of it. But thank you. Pastor, you're not off the hook, though. You want to?
Oh, okay. Yesterday, during the course of the recap, of course, there were other things that were interjected that we did not see the first time we spoke of Jonah. Jonah is actually a story being told concern that the Creator has for mankind. Jonah being instructed to speak to the people at Nineveh and for them to change their ways or the city would be destroyed. That's simply saying to us, we have an obligation to speak to others who are engaged in wrongdoings. I'm not talking about the wrongdoings that the church enumerates. I'm talking about the wrongdoings in our everyday life that is void of knowledge of self and knowledge of our oneness with our Creator, as well as with each other. Was not present in Nineveh, and again, this is a story talking to us. And Jonah decides, I'm not going to do it. And Jonah goes onto a ship going in a different direction, which means that we can start this journey, make a decision that I'm not going to release what I've received or what I'm seeing, and move totally in a different direction than we are being guided in. And when that happens, your mind is troubled. If it's not troubled on its own, in terms of being internally pricked for you to reconsider what you just made the decision to do, then there are those who are external who speak to you or say things, or there are actions that you observe that begin to push you a place of pondering whether you made the right decision or not. And when you are constantly processing whether or not you made the right decision by deciding not to teach or to follow the instructions, when that happens, the story of Jonah is saying, you are given an opportunity to leave that place of despondency, that place of selfishness, place where you have refused to share what you have been shown with others for their benefit. And if you want to be extricated from the issues that are always plaguing you about your decision, you then meditate. It says that Jonah prayed. You meditate. And during the period of your meditation, you will have opportunity to return from that state of meditation rather, but to return from it and see the earth differently, see the consciousness of earth differently. And that is the portion that talks about the regurgitation of the fish and Jonah ending up on dry land. And when that happens to us, when we begin to see the earth consciousness in a different way, we recover from the erroneous decision that we made and embrace the instructions that we were given. And when we complete the task of bringing an awareness to others about their wrongdoing, and even ourselves for that matter, then when we do that, and they open their eyes with the desire to understand more and remove themselves from that wrongdoing from the life that's void of a relation, void of knowing who we actually are. And when that happens, there are times when we're upset because nothing happened to the people who had been ignoring us all the time, and that being upset is a different way of saying that we are hoping that the destruction will come upon them, because if nothing happened as we said it would happen, we think that we didn't hear clearly, or we feel like we're manipulating them. And during this period of anger, we try to find a way out. And we try to convince ourselves that we shouldn't have done what we did. And we are angry with the people, but we're actually angry with ourselves. And then we try to find a place where we can have repose, where we can settle down. And when we sit with it, we find that there is a comfort zone in sitting with it. There is a serenity in sitting with it, and we begin to see it differently than we did before. And then this serenity, this peace that has engulfed us, the next thing we know, we go through something else that's overnight. We go through something else in regards to what we have just done, and that serenity, that peace, is lifted from us, and we are complaining about it. When you complain about the plant was not shading him anymore, we begin to complain about what happened. Why is my peace being disturbed? Why I cannot hold on to this serenity? Why is it that you brought me to say these things anyway? And at that point, as Barbara said, I think it was the day before yesterday, Saturday, I think it was, that Jonah did not produce the plant that gave him the shade, neither did he produce the worm, ate the plant. Right. The serenity, the peace that overcame Jonah, or that overcomes us and embraces us, did not come from us anyway. It did not come from an attitude of gratitude. It did not come from an attitude that saw people change or change in, and embrace them for their efforts, as opposed to being angry with them, thinking that they're going to believe we manipulated them. So in essence, we must overcome not only being upset because things didn't come out right or the way we thought they should, or that nothing happened to the people because they changed. Now, and when we speak of the change, I'm not necessarily we talk to them today and they change tomorrow. I'm talking about over a period of time. And you don't see any progress, so you want to get upset about that and say that maybe I'm not teaching the same thing, maybe they shouldn't know this, or maybe they are not capable of receiving and embracing what we are trying to say to them. They want to do it their way, and it's not good. All those things come into play. And when we settle down with that and we see that this is a process, the peace comes, serenity, and we go through something, and we're right back at that place, this abundancy that we just experienced. So the moral of the story is you have been instructed to use your energy source into others so that their energy will be transformed, and the transformation of it will allow them to see what they have missed during the course of their religious experiences, and that when they begin to see that, that's when we see not only the ones who we taught changing, but we see everyone they come in contact with changing also. This is not, the story of Jonah, it is not about creating anyone in our physical image, not even in the think. It is when we talk about creating in our image and likeness, we're talking about creating the energy that does not permit you to be unforgiving and selfish. We're talking about embracing the energy of forgiveness, mercy, love, and kindness. That's the transformation. That's the creating in image and likeness. They are the principles of the universe that we are infusing through our energy. Keep in mind also that just like there is the macro exists for us to put out there what we do in terms of our teaching, there also is a religious macro that's connected with earth consciousness, and it causes people to resist change. However, when we look at it on the basis of the story that Jonah tells, and when we look at it on the basis of what the Scripture talks about, with light and darkness, no amount of darkness can overcome the light, and that spark of enlightenment eventually turns to a flame. But the ultimate goal is for it to turn into or be transformed into a raging fire, so that the spark that we started with is a raging fire, and now it is being recognized who it is. And that I don't know what happened, but I know you changed. There's something different about you, but I can't put my finger on it. That kind of creating an image and likeness has nothing to do with a physical creation at all. Thank you. I hope the recap helped.
Thank you. If I could add something, and you tell me if I'm online here, that message that you may be sent out to give can also be nonverbal, can it not? I mean, I've heard several people on this line talk about being treated a certain way and not, acting in kind, and so a lot of times it may be that it comes across just as strong and influential as it would be if you were talking to someone. Am I on target with that?
Yeah, the message is constantly being given simply by your presence. There are periods of time when there are people who need to hear a verbal explanation of who we are, in order for them to make a decision whether or not they are going to serve the God that they created or the God that created them. And that is one of the reasons I have said that we need to take more seriously our contact with church out of California. We have been given an opportunity to infuse our energy, to infuse righteousness, forgiveness, to infuse an awareness into the macro of people who have grown up and been manipulated into a macro, a mindset rather, that only sees the God that was created for them, a mindset that says the scriptures mean whatever you want it to mean, a mindset where you can lynch somebody and leave church, lynch somebody, have dinners, not even bother you, cutting their ears off and giving to your souvenirs. This is a mind. This is a type of energy that has been here for generations. And there are people who fight against that mindset, but they're fighting with religion as opposed to spirituality. And when you fight with religion, you depend on the legislative bodies to bring you the deliverance or to make things equitable and balanced, when in essence the imbalance came from those institutions. So when we back away from the verbiage, the back and forth verbiage that has kept us in this place, and began to say things like, it is Christianity that has created the problem, spirituality frees us from this problem. The whole of white supremacy is based upon the doctrine of discovery. And then to have someone say that it's not in force anymore, it may not be. But look at the damage it did, and who's correcting the damage? Are the ones who put it in force correcting it? No. Are the ones who said we don't do that anymore? Are they correcting it? No. So it doesn't matter that the doctrine is not followed anymore. It's already set the parameters for the existence of humanity in this earth. However, when we speak about Christianity like that, when we speak about what the damage the doctrine has done, when we speak the truth of the scriptures, and people get agitated, that's when they're learning. So I'm saying, in essence, that we are not only dependent upon our physical presence and the message being delivered simply by us being in that presence, we also must verbalize it. And we don't have to verbalize it to every person on the earth. We verbalize it, and by us verbalizing it, that is earth consciousness. Verbal speech is earth consciousness. And the breath that carries the words is spiritual. So what we are actually doing is combining the earth consciousness with spiritual essence. And the genuine desire to see humanity as that, humanity without separation and without judgment, that in itself began to infuse the consciousness of those who are caught up in religion, because they know that the religion is not helping them, but they don't know where to turn to get an understanding that is deeper and clearer than the understanding they've been given. So when we make that clarity, when we clarify it, when we make it clear and without denying we were in the same place at one time, when we do that, that is what pricks the heart and we begin to see the change. And yes, there are some who won't do that. They'll make the choice to stay where they are, or they'll make the choice that something has resonated with them, and they want to continue along until they can get a greater understanding of the unicity of humanity, the unicity of spirituality. I hope that helped, Ron.
It did. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
I got a question to that. That's just like when Jesus said, "I got sheep of this pastor that is not of this pastor." You understand what I'm saying? Like what Red was saying, when you tell them that, they kick against it, but on down the road, it's keep that what you don't told them, it's going around in their mind, and when they do accept it, they become one of the sheep of the pastor, right? Pasture. That's what you're saying?
Yes, I am saying that, first of all, the reason they don't adhere to it, or they don't understand what Jesus was saying when he said that he has sheep not of this pasture. They don't understand what he was saying. They're looking at people shooting or cutting or selling drugs. That's all they look at. Somebody cheating and stealing. That's it. They don't look at the spiritual nature of what Jesus was saying. Jesus was saying there are those who belong to me and they don't even know it. The me of which you've been speaking is talking about there are those who have been chosen and they don't even realize they have been chosen to do what I am teaching. The day does come, those sheep that are not of that pasture begins to question everything around them. And when they do that, and they begin to do in-depth study and research, trying to understand what does all this mean, and they see that what they have been taught was not what was meant by the allegory that was presented. And when they do that, and they continue and make a commitment to follow the teachings, then they become sheep of the pasture. Does that make sense, Charles?
Yes, sir. I appreciate what you had said.
Thank you, sir. Ron?
Thank you for your question. Else on what Pastor was talking about with Jonah? Are there any questions about anything else that may have gotten your attention, or comments for that matter? Okay. I want to show you something that we talked about it last Monday, chapter 12 of Genesis, and again I apologize to you because I rushed this yesterday and I didn't go into detail like I probably should have, or allowed you a chance to speak on it as well. Chapter 12 is one of those chapters that has always fascinated me. And one of the things I saw is I see, as I mentioned yesterday, but I see Egypt as something different. I see it is a cramped space. It is indeed a cramped space, but it is a place that God never sent Abraham. God never sent Abraham to Egypt. It has its purpose, though. It has its purpose, and that's what I want to look at. Again, just to kind of recap and get us to thinking that way, the nomadic lifestyle is one where everything is inclusive. You are everything, and everything is you. I love everybody because I don't belong to, or I'm not a part of night molding, and I live in this neighborhood of this subdivision, or my kids don't go to this type of school because it's prestige or whatever, or the opposite side, I'm ashamed of who I am because I live on this side of the track, and my family can't afford to do this or that. So the nomadic lifestyle says that I am a part of all things. I am everything. I am the universe. And nomadic means that I pick up and leave, not literally, of course, but the journey speaks of your consciousness. The journey speaks of your values. If you go back and look at chapter 12 again, these first verse here, leave your country, leave your relative, leave your father's house. In other words, this is your value system. This is the thing that you have claimed to. This is the things that you have been taught that should be important to you, that identify you. I belong first, and I am a part of Elohim. I am Elohim, and I am every man's brother, and I take pleasure in journeying into the woods and putting my feet in the water and breathing in fresh air. And I love to see the sunrise. And I don't kill anything unless I am hungry. I don't even pluck up a piece of fruit off of a tree unless I need the nourishment or to feed someone else. I give freely what I have. And I don't take to be selfish unless I need someone. And when someone comes to me in that has a need, I freely give all that I have. So when it says that I am rich and I am wealthy, it is not a selfish thing. It means that I have everything. And you can come and get what you need. I am the universe. That is my riches. So in this journey, when we start off and we start to see ourselves. So when and I'm not going to go verse by verse, y'all. I'm just trying to get to a portion here and show you something. It talks about the journey that Abraham is taking here, and it looks at a couple of things here. And as I said, Bethel is talking about the house of God. So here he is. He's on this journey, or we're on this journey. Ron's on this journey. Charles is on this journey. Kathy is on the journey. Everybody's on the journey, and you're looking at this thing, and you're seeing who you are. So the heap and the rubble represents what is in those first three verses, the country, the Father's house. I see that those things have no more value to me. They have no value to me. So what does it do? What does it do? I started looking at this thing, and it leads me to a place. It leads me to a famine. It leads me to a place where I'm thinking, okay, here I am now, and I recognize myself more so than I've ever been. It reminds me of the point in the story of Joshua when they were traveling in the wilderness, and it said, and we come to a place where we've never been before. So you come to that place where you've never been before, and the famine is those things don't feed you anymore. Those things don't bring satisfaction to you anymore. So what do you find yourself doing? Here's what happens. I better introduce this as a supposition so we talk about it and kind of dissect it here. What if Egypt is that cramped space that you enter into because you find yourself in a place that you haven't been before and you don't know what to do? In other words, you lose your focus. You lose your focus. You turn back to your eyes and away from your eye. And the reason why I said on yesterday that Abraham conquers Egypt, Abraham shows us how to regain our focus, because when he comes out on the other side of this, he goes back to what he was familiar with, and that's his altar. Is altar to God. The altar is a place that you have separated within yourself, that you are here in the present and you are there with no one but you creator. That is your altar. So he goes into Egypt because it talks about a family. It doesn't say how long he was in Egypt. It doesn't say whether he was relieved of the famine or whatever. He went in there for a different purpose. He went into Egypt because his eyes lost focus of where he was. He saw that when he comes out of the first time here, when he builds the altar and he sees himself in the midst of Bethel and Ai, he loses his focus. The famine causes him to lose his focus. And when he comes out, it doesn't say anything when he comes out of this thing about a famine. So what I'm asking, or what I think I'm seeing with Egypt, perhaps is that place where we put ourselves in. It's a dire place where we have questioned our religion, we have questioned our value system, and we're looking at this thing and we're saying, what now? Where do I go from here? What is it that is going to bring meaning to my life? I'm going to stop right there and hold on.
Hey, Ron.
Yes, sir.
This again. When Abraham left his family,
Mm-hmm.
at that time, he was open to good and bad.
What do you
through
mean?
the course he went through. This means he was open up to he was open up to have good and bad come toward him, because he had to.
Okay, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
That was okay. He had to learn something through that path that he was traveling.
Yeah,
we have to learn something. Go ahead.
You that's you, Charles. The path is you. It's no different than this. That's what. Yeah, you're exactly right. But what I'm trying to get us to see is Abram represents the energy that has captured Charles, the energy that has captured someone, the energy that has captured Ron. So he hears God in him, because the gods of his father, and go over that, he recognizes that there's more to this. I won't say they even thought there was something wrong, but there is a more, and there is something in there. There's a light flickering in you that says, come follow me. Come and see what the more is. So he recognizes that voice. He recognizes that voice is the flickering of the light that is in him, and he decides to explore it. Here's the thing, though, Charles, the reason why I didn't want to say frightened or good and bad. There is nothing scary about following truth. There is nothing that can harm us. When you follow that little voice inside of you, when you follow that path of light, it's Charles, there's something here just for you. I want you to see this, but you have to put forth the effort. You have to walk away from those things that have captured you, or things that you have valued all of your life. And when you do, you gain the whole world. But do you have the courage to walk away? There's nothing that can hurt you. And I think that's the fear. That's the fear that we have, that we're going to lose out on something, or the unknown is something that is going to harm us, and that is not the case. I think, for the most part, of course, we haven't studied every book in the Bible here, or even a story out of every book, but I think we've gone over enough of this to see that most of what we learned has been a myth. None of it has been true. So when we open the book now, when we see things, or even when it opens us up, we see that there's nothing to fear. There is no fear of the unknown, or something that is dark, or something that I don't know. If I don't know it, somebody else on this phone might know it. And if they don't, we will probe until we find it together. Isn't that usually how it works? So when we look at these allegories, when we study them, see yourself in the place. See yourself, not only Abraham, but even as Jesus. See yourself. I say you're Elohim. That's got to mean something. Okay? I didn't Charles, but go ahead, please, sir.
You will find you said everything I was trying to get out. I mean, that's how it is. And this right here is telling the story, but if you don't put yourself in this story, it ain't gonna do no good for you. You just be the same way until you do hear it in your soul again, and that's what it's gonna change.
Mm-hmm. One of the thing I'm trying to get across, though, if I'm seeing this correctly, is this: Egypt is necessary. There will be times we lose focus. There will be times that we take our eye off of who we are, or don't see things clearly, when we don't see things through our sight. There will be times when we have to help each other refocus. But the thing that I see here is verse 11 says, and he said to Sarah, now see, I know that you are beautiful. In other words, you are my balance. You are my balance. So in the time that he loses focus, what does he do? He results back to his spiritual side. Sarah becomes his strength and his guidepost through Egypt. And that's what I said. He shows us how to conquer this. We're going to lose focus. We're going to lose focus, but it's okay. Because when you come out of this thing, you are the same as you need. Questions or comments?
This is Barbara.
Yeah. Hey, Barbara.
I thought it was really intriguing when you said that we put ourselves in cramped spaces, because we do. And the very idea of duality in thinking, meaning good or bad, light or dark, all of those things are some of the things that can put us into this feeling of being cramped. Because the way we define all of those things are based on what we've been told externally, what we've seen externally with our eyes. But when we begin to see the eye, then we understand that there is no either or. There is no good or bad. Good just inclines to whatever darkness is, and darkness inclines to light. It's not either or. It is not separate. Black is not separate from white. But when we buy into all of this either or, et cetera, we limit our thinking and our possibilities.
Yes.
See what I'm saying? Those are the boundaries we put around our essence by buying into the duality. That it's either this or it's either that. Well, what Why can't it be both? In
Mhm.
other words, when we get beyond the boundaries, then it doesn't matter. Either and or can be very beneficial to us. Either or can be very beneficial to us. Rightness and unrightness can be beneficial to us because we're not bound by putting a value or an emotional attachment to those quote unquote words, because we're living in we're just experiencing the now. And so the crampedness only comes when we allow those boundaries to persist, and we allow our mind to define our experiences based on those boundaries that we or have been for us. And those boundaries are all illusions.
Mhm.
So beyond that, then, when we don't have the boundaries, beyond duality, that's where the harmony comes in. Beyond duality, we are not bound by and tied to this or that. It opens up so many more possibilities. And that's the creative part of us. When we don't allow these external boundaries, or even the ones we set for ourselves or other people set for us, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, it doesn't matter. But when we get beyond that, everything is possible. So I just simply wanted to say that, because that sounds like what I heard you say in terms of what a cramped space is, and me defining my cramp in a sense.
Thank you. Beautifully said. And you added something a lot actually, but that's what I should have led off with, the external. When we start to view things externally, that's where we lose focus. That's where we lose it. I said seeing it with the eyes. I meant to say externally, but you're exactly right. Everything, and it does create duality. We lose focus. And it takes us someplace, but this shows us how to regain that. Thank you, Ms. B. Anyone else?
Yeah, Ron.
Sure.
We know when we're in Egypt. We know when we are. We just become victims. We make us victims. The reason I know that we know when we were in Egypt is because we use terms like "my back is against the wall."
Mm-hmm.
I have no one to turn to. I don't know where to go from here. We know we're in a cramped space, but we don't see it that way. We see it as a ploy of the devil, because that's what we've been taught.
Yeah.
Two of the most debilitating things that we embrace are fear, as I was speaking to someone today, being a victim. Those are two of the most debilitating things that we could ever embrace. Fear does one of two things. It's going to paralyze you or motivate you. And in most cases, fear paralyzes. And when we are paralyzed, or when we feel like someone took advantage of us, we make ourselves victims. When we are feeling that we have been victimized, thoughts come to us that are not so righteous. Our mind is not clear at that point. When we see the person or the event, whatever, create or cause that the emotional feeling of victimization when we see that as, you know what, I'm not the victim here. They are. They are the victim, and I need to fix this for them so that they will see they're wrong, but also so that others will not have to suffer at this person or this event at this hand. Does that make sense so far?
Yes, it does.
So,
Yes.
and when we step away from victimhood, that is when our minds are the clearest. And when we refuse to allow events to scare us, that is when we be clear in our act as well as our speech and thought. Why am I saying this? Because when we talk about what happened to us, one or two things is going to be said. You playing the race card, or you're always the victim. I ain't doing anything to you because I wasn't living then. And we embrace that victimhood by saying you did it to me. But we don't think beyond that. Victimhood does not give you the clarity to see that you are able, on above whatever the situation or circumstance is, but you're also able to bring that person or those people or that group out of this place of victimizing themselves in terms of spirituality. They have made themselves victims of the earth, the consciousness of the earth, because that is what guides their lives. And they cannot see anything that's spiritual. They can only see the story that's been told. Paul writes, 1 Corinthians, 8:3 maybe? Paul says something. Paul says, if had known who crucified, would not have crucified him. When we don't understand the spiritual nature of the scriptures, we are living a constant daily crucifixion. We think that crucifixion is the end, and we live it every day. However, when we become aware, when we embrace that awareness as to who we are, when we do that, we begin to see that it is our responsibility to bring and infuse righteousness into this earth. That's our, and guess what happens? No longer do we feel like we are victims of racism because we know who we are. It is impossible for you to hurt me because I know who I am. During the days, my early days in the Pan-African movement, all the people in my neighborhood, especially my grandmama, had a term. And they would say stuff like, don't be afraid of them. They can kill you, but they can't eat you. Matter of fact, what they were saying, in essence, is death is freedom. Don't be afraid of it. And I'm saying to you today, don't allow victimhood to freeze you in place. Don't allow victimhood to cause you to lose focus, to cause you to be angry because you are a victim. I remember when Catherine was talking about, I sat with it and everything changed. When we allow ourselves to sulk as opposed to meditating, we are denying who we are. We are denying the inherent power that we have. We are denying the attribute of salvation that we have to offer to those who did what it said, whatever. We are never, ever the victim, neither are we the one who's shaken in fear because of who we are. The idea, when people say that, you're the lowest on the totem pole, we constantly hear that. My response to that is, and I heard one of the kids say this, my response to that is this. If I am at the bottom of the totem pole, then I am stronger than everybody on top because I'm holding it up. You've been to my will. I am the one who saves you. If I move, you fall. If you take that and apply it to life itself, it is simply saying that you are a minister, that you are a deliverer, that you do not seek to destroy. You seek to become a servant, a spiritual servant to everyone without regard to whether they mistreat you or they love you. It doesn't matter. So, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments, anyone? I love the discussion. I think every time we look at this, we see a little bit more of ourselves, and that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. And so we look at this and do not lose sight of the fact that Lot is with him the whole time. We start off doing a comparison with Abram and Lot. Lot is with him the whole time. But you will not find anywhere in Scripture where Lot builds an altar to God. You do not find that. So I will say there's more to him than we have discussed. At least that's what I feel, and we will get to that, I guess, at some point. That word nephew, though, has the same root as it has two meanings to it. One is a brother's son, a brother's child, and that's Hebrews 2:51. And the other one is the same as son or daughter, and that's Hebrews 11:21. Bane means to build or add to. So in other words, Lot could have taken the journey. Let's put it like this. He was on the same trip, but not on the same journey. And as we've said in the past, you can get off at any time. You can take your rest at any time. But if you want to find yourself, find that flicker of light that's in you, where does it lead you? Then you are persistent in staying where you're going, where it leads you out. So that thing that I there that kind of intrigued me, if you will. Don't have any other thing. There was one other observation I had, though, that I thought was interesting, and I don't think it is a coincidence. Let me find it in my notes, because I'm getting bad about writing stuff all over the place and then can't find them.
Oh, agent.
That's what that is. There is a word because Abraham's name change is special. That is special. That means that is a mark for us inside of ourselves. That we're on the right path, and when we study these lessons and we see ourselves, that is a mark for us. We can see that. I'm gonna find something here. Genesis chapter 17. Genesis chapter 17. I'm gonna read. You don't have to turn. I'll just read the verse to you. God says, "No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name should be called Abraham, for I shall make you the father of a multitude of nations." Now, he has said to him, "You will be as the dust. You will be like the sand on the seashore. You will bless all the families of the earth." But this is the first time after the name change that he says to him, "You will be the father of many nations, or multiple nations." The word nations has been used in Genesis, but it has not been used in relationship with God talking to Abraham this first time. That word is gave, G-A-V, well, I'll take that back. The word is goy, G-O-Y. The root of it is gave. You know what it means? It means Gentiles, heathens, a foreign nation. And it comes from a root word that means the back, or something that holds up. It means the root of it means to rise up, to be exalted, to be lifted up, to hold something up. So again, it seems so little simple word like that. You can overlook it and not see it, but it's another message. It's another message to us that says you are on the right path. And I like it because it goes along with what we talked about yesterday when we looked at Jonah. And I think I made the class, if I didn't make it on the phone. I see that as a message to us. That lesson spoke to me when I listened to it on the video and again on yesterday. So I just thought that was interesting and worthy of pointing out to us, and something for us to ponder, okay?
Ron, I have a question. I'll yield.
Okay.
How you, Ellen?
Well, I was going to, I remember when we were in church, we used to sing, "I know my name, something about the angels in the heaven have signed my name," or something like that. So does our name change as well? And name means what? Character? Can you explain what the name mean? And then does our name change as well? And how does it change? Is that?
I think it's a beautiful question, and I don't want to mess it up. So y'all help me out with this. If the word Abram is talking about being exalted, Abraham, the hey, the letter that was added to it is breath. Hey, so that is talking about the father of many nations. Now, as for us, yes, our character changes. The physical name, as we're saying this, as we've discussed before, we look at these scriptures in a practical sense, and we look at them in a spiritual sense. I can't say spiritually. I can't say spiritually our character is changing. So I guess the answer to that would be yes in that regard. But I'm not. I don't know what to say beyond that. If somebody can help out here, please.
I agree with you.
I believe the character change. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pastor.
No, go ahead, Bob.
I believe there is a change. There is a spiritual change, and you just said something, Ron, about that I just thought about with Abram's name, exalted, but then with the hay added, and that's the breath, the spiritual sense, and so meaning from that point on, the spiritual essence is available to whosoever will receive it and accept it. And therein is the Father of many nations, not just physical nations, but the spiritual basis for the nation is kingdom. But yeah, I agree with you that the actual character changes. For instance, it's like and you guys have talked about this and used these examples. You know, he used to be like his daddy, but not anymore. A totally different person. Or she used to be like her aunt, but not anymore. She's a totally different person. She's there's something different about her. She walks different. She thinks different. She speaks differently. Blah blah blah. So the character and the essence that permeates who we are changes so that it is a felt, seen thing, not only with the physical eye, but even with the spiritual eye, that people don't even know that they are accessing themselves within themselves.
Yeah.
But they just know that they know.
Yeah, I like that.
Audrey, hi everybody. I think that your name does change in that when your character changes. For example, if like the example Barb was giving, he used to be like his daddy, but he's not like that anymore. He's changed. So when the person's character changes, their name takes on a different meaning, even though it could technically be the same name. It does take on a new meaning, a new kind of character. It means something different now to not only the person whose name it is, but to the people around him. His name means something different now, once that character changes. So in essence, we do take on a new name, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Hello?
I'm done.
Audrey?
Did I lose you?
Just for a minute there.
Ron?
Yes, sir. I'm just going to say I like what she said. That was beautifully said. Your name may not physically change, but you changed the meaning of it. I like that.
That was cool.
Yes, agree with that.
I have a question.
Okay.
Elvin brought up this song. I know I've been changed, but the angels in the heavens have changed my name. How about that?
What do I think of it?
What does that mean? When you
I
say
don't know.
the angels in the heavens done changed my name. Your name, if your name was Bertha, what are you talking about, the angels that changed your name that makes you know you're changed? Have you ever thought about that? I haven't done that. Could it possibly that's a song that was actually penned on their hearts from the soul. I know that I'm not the person I once was because the message of enlightenment has changed my character. Could that possibly be what was being said? Because there is very little, for me anyway, understanding beyond that of what it means that you're different, that you know you've been changed because the angels in the heavens have changed my name. What do you think about that? That supposition.
May I ask
And
a question? Supposition, Pastor?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ron. Are you speaking?
No, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. I was just saying I hadn't thought about that, but it makes sense. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
My question is two parts. The song is actually "The Angels in Heaven Has Signed My Name." Is sign and change the same thing? And then when you look at other cultures, like I remember when Cassius Clay became Muhammad Ali. In some cultures, the name physically changes, and I hadn't thought about that until we started this discussion, because I was just thinking, of course, it's got to be a spiritual change on the inside, because we don't go places and actually change our names. But in some cultures and in some religions, they do. So how does all of that compare to what we're saying now? That's a two-part question.
The change of the name, Jews still do that. They'll change the name in order to change the trajectory of someone's health. All names mean something. All indigenous people choose their names based on several different things. It might be running wolf because they saw a wolf when you were born. It might be something related to the moon or the sun. But whatever it is, that is the expectation that they are given to you. For you. This is the expectation of this community. This is what they have for you. That you would be running with in terms of you'll be a great hunter. The sun, you'll be the brightness of somebody's life, that kind of thing. Eagle, that you will fly high. Everybody had names that meant something. And Kwame Fadasi, born on Saturday at night, that meant something. However, keep in mind, since we talk about names, that obviously somewhere inside of the missionaries, they knew that meant something. Because the first thing that they did was tell you that you have to anglicize your name. You are a heathen as long as you are one boy, one D. You're a heathen. When you change your name to Wilhelmina,
Sage? Is something going on with
Well, he done cut off too.
would you mute your phone, please? However, when we are named, we just choose a name without the character thoughts in our minds when we do that. there are names. I remember thinking to myself, my God, all these names that these people are giving their children, I can't pronounce all of that. And then I read someplace where that is part of a deeply embedded heritage, because a lot of those names, and the article said, the overwhelming majority of those names can be traced back to West Africa. But we ghettoized them in our own minds because other folk did.
Can I ask you a question, Pastor?
Yeah.
You mentioned, though, we kind of just name them without giving a lot of thought to them. We had a conversation earlier tonight where the sheep are not of this pasture, so you may not be doing it so haphazardly as you think. If
I can agree with that.
you get it, huh?
I can agree with that.
You see what I mean? I mean, in most part, yeah. But if our journey is ordered, and you don't know that at age 23 or 22 when you become a mother or father, whatever age that be, you may be being guided even at that point. I'm just saying, spirituality does not have physical limitations. So that may have started, and even going on what Audra said, it wouldn't matter so much what you named your baby if that baby is going to change its character.
And there are some names you don't want them to change their character.
Yeah.
Because they've been brought into the earth for purpose. All I'm saying is this. Names are attached to character. And the depth of that attachment is influenced by the environment that you grow up in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Right now, I don't have the same character that I once did in terms of how people saw my character or would describe my character. Let me give you an example. I received a text message yesterday from one of the guys in D.C. who I worked with. And in that text message, he said to me, I noticed that there are people who are petitioning the courts to get rid of the books down there where you are. He said, what do you think about a black family suing the state in order to remove the books that's hurtful to black people? And of course I responded to him. But more importantly, what I'm trying to say is this. When I was there, those kinds of things were said to me. Those kinds of questions were raised. And it was my responsibility to set into motion a solution or a direction that we would take in order to fulfill this. He is not aware of my character now. And that makes a huge difference. So what I'm saying is our character changes with influences from the environment. And I'm not talking about just children. The character that I expressed there, I grew up with. The character that I express now is the one I learned by being who I am, who I desire to be, by becoming aware of the essence of my being. Make sense?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Is Audrey back? Is Audrey back with us?
Audrey, are you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
We lost
Can you
you a
hear
minute
me?
ago. Yeah, we hear you. We lost you earlier.
Audrey, did you want to finish your thought? We lost you when you were talking about. You were saying that you change the meaning of your name when you change your character. It doesn't mean that the name has to physically change. And we lost you shortly thereafter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was saying that, well, and I agree with what Pastor just said. Some people grow into their name. Like if your name means that your name picked by your parents means a certain thing, you it doesn't mean anything to you when you're a child, but as you get older and you come to know what your name means, sometimes you can grow into whatever that means. But for people who have just a name and they have no real, and they are their character is a certain way when they're younger, or their character is a certain way because they just don't care or whatever. And then they start to care. So, and then their character changes. So in a way, they are developing a new name because people knew them as that name as one way, but now they know them as that same name another way, but they see them the new way. So in a way, their name has changed. It's become more I don't know, I can't think of a word. Important is not what I mean, but the name has come to mean something more significant, I guess was what I'm saying. Anyway.
I like that. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I like that. Can it be then by enhancing the energy in these names that we are that in its own way changing the universe? As people search for names.
Repeat that, Ron, please.
Okay, you change the name James or Charles or whatever. You change the character of it. You add a strength to it. You add a different energy to it. So here I come 5 years from now, and I name my child. I pick a name out of the universe, James. Did I really just pick that name? Has there something been added to that name that enhances its meaning and its energy?
Okay. I'm good. I see it.
Anyone else? Questions or comments?
I have one more comment. There
Yes,
are
ma'am.
some people who don't name their children right after birth. They wait a while. So I see what Audrey is saying as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very interesting evening, guys. I've loved this tonight. Good discussion. Don't want to leave anybody out though. Any final questions or comments?
I got one final question to comment. It's Charles again. I know everybody saw the film of Malcolm X and stuff, and he said he didn't want to have the slave name, so he named his last name X. So it's found on that.
That came from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the black Muslims in this country. And what Elijah Muhammad taught to the people who joined his organization, especially the males who have been incarcerated, changed their name because their last name is a surname, and it has a continuous connection to slavery. Slave master, being enslaved. And as long as you carry the name of your master as your surname, you are indebted to him. His words are not this, but that is the principle behind what was happening when Malcolm X changed his name. Like right now, Louis Farrakhan's name was Louis X. And when he became an assistant to Elijah Muhammad, his name was changed to Farrakhan, which says that he had gained a community and connected with the roots of his descendants. The X also speaks to you don't know who you descended from. You don't know what their last name was. So that's the best I can do with that. But that's what I remember from back in the day.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, it's been a great evening. It's a good place to take a pause. If you guys will have any questions, again, write them down or send a text or something, and we'll start there Saturday, okay? I hope everybody has a good week, and thank everyone for questions and comments and a great discussion this evening. Y'all have a good week. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Goodbye.
Bye.